Infinity Chamber is one of the few films in this list of escape room mechanic type films that I've heard about in passing a few times, but never got around to checking it out, despite being highly recommended to me at times. When I saw that it was included in this list, I thought I'd finally give it a go, and this one's actually pretty darn good. It came out in 2016, written, directed, and even edited by Travis Malloy, who also wrote the film Pandorum, which that was much more of a blockbuster with a decent budget. $33 million to be exact, while this one's more of a meager $125,000, but both Pandorum and Infinity Chamber have this level of science fiction intrigue and mystery as to what the heck's going on. Let's get cracking. Frank, played by Christopher Soren Kelly, wakes up confused and imprisoned in a strange room with nobody around but a computer named Howard that identifies itself as a life support operator that has two jobs. One's to keep Frank alive, and the other is to never let him leave. Unaware of why he was detained, Frank attempts to outwit this computer in order to find a way to escape back to the world that might not even exist anymore. Regarding the budget, for the most part, you can't even tell it's low. There are some issues with acting here and there, where it feels a little bit corny, but I'd actually argue this is not a movie that you should be focusing all that much into the acting, so it really shouldn't bother you all that much. It's more about dialogue and the direction of the film, both of which are outstanding. Infinity Chamber is Inception meets Groundhog Day wrapped up in an escape room type of narrative. And it will absolutely mess with your head. This is one of those types of movies where it'll have a few different interpretations on what's going on and what actually happens at the end. Think about the elusive ending of Inception, where you're not entirely sure if it's one way or the other. Same thing applies here. Throughout the entire film, there's also apparently hints that suggest a few possibilities, which that tells me Travis Malloy is brilliant in not only his ability to balance a film, regardless on being lower in budget, but also his ability to craft together an endlessly complex narrative that people continue to theorize about to this day. Single room thrillers must be hard to perfect if you really think about it, especially when you really only have one actor shouldering most of the responsibility and direction of the film. Think about Buried with Ryan Reynolds in a film where he's buried alive. These movies are one-man shows essentially, and they remain that way for a full-length duration. One of the ways that this film keeps up its pacing is through a variety of science fiction tropes that we have seen in the past. As mentioned before, it is a mix of Inception and Groundhog Day. Inception because this room has a tool that it's using to essentially look into Frank's memories to procure information, and these memories are like Groundhog Day because they play over and over and over again. All the meanwhile, he's going head to head against this computer using his intellect to discover a way to escape, which is where escape room mechanics come into play. So it's not fully original, but it has a lot of uniqueness that helps it stand out anyway, including a lot of thought-provoking elements, like I already said. Now, Howard to me feels like a shout out to Hal in 2001: A Space Odyssey, as his intentions are often in question. But in a lot of ways, he's the main character's only source as a friend. Throughout his escapades throughout these memories, there's this recurring character as well, and love interest Gabby, played by Cassandra Clark. I liked her inclusion in the story as it offers more chemistry for Frank, for a little bit of romance for the audience to root for him to escape so that he can find her, and even a little bit of conspiracy as to how much you can actually trust her character when she's a figment of his imagination that is being watched by a bunch of computers and neural networks designed to take this data from his memories. So how much control they have in terms of what he's seeing, you don't really know. Thematically, the film touches base on confinement and freedom, of course, before it kind of moves a little bit deeper into reality versus illusion, something that Inception did incredibly well. If it's real to you, why does it have to be a bad thing? If it feels real, isn't that all that matters? Albert Einstein said, "Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Even if you go and watch The Matrix, Cypher, the character Cypher, he was free. He was roaming around in the real world. Yet all he wanted to do was to plug back into the fake world because to him, he was happier there. And his brain tells him it's all real. So what difference does it make? Can't really fault him for that. So Infinity Chamber also touches base on this idea pretty well, but I can't tell you too much about it without spoiling some pretty major parts. So definitely check it out for yourself. Overall, this is one of the better films that I have watched in this little series that I've thrown myself into, and it's one of the most rewatchable films out of the bunch. It is very well made, especially considering the limited budget, and I feel like watching it again already just to notice some stuff that I clearly missed the first time around. I'm going to be giving this a rating of A-. It's really good. There's just a couple of things that I can't ignore, at least not fully, and some of that has to do with the acting. As I said in the past, when it comes down to low budget films, you are limited in your options for actors. You might have a grand idea, and an idea costs nothing. So how do you want to convey that idea? Do you want to convey it through visuals? Maybe through dialogue? Maybe you want to make it more realistic with the acting? You kind of have to pick and choose when you don't have the biggest budget. And in the case of Infinity Chamber, I feel like they made the right choice here in choosing dialogue and visuals over acting. Because the acting at times, like I mentioned before, does feel corny at times. But thankfully, it's not throughout the film. Throughout the film, for the most part, feels legitimately blockbuster-esque almost, you know? It feels big. It's a low budget, but it feels like a movie that more people should know about. So definitely go check it out, guys. And if you have seen Infinity Chamber, leave your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. But until then, peace out.
Lost in the Infinity Chamber, where memories collide. In a labyrinth of truth and lies, we seek to find escape from this confinement beneath the endless sky.